Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan,
Jack.
And I'm Casey.
and we are back after an interesting and complicated, a unique weekend in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Definitely a mixed bag for Boston. Obviously ended on a high note, but we'll start at the beginning. Seems as good a place as any to begin. With the Cannons losing 14-10 to the Carolina Chaos. Um, I didn't realize. Until I saw the PLL app had it as one of their trivia questions. The Cannons are now, I think, 1-6 all time against the Chaos.
Really?
Yeah. The only win was that one, 2024,
The
with that Ryan Drenner golf
Ryan
shot.
Jenner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Blaze played that whole game. Obviously, he did not play this entire game as well.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, for the sake of the Cannons' title hopes, playoff chances, I guess I hope that they don't have to meet again, because obviously the last time they did meet in the playoffs, that did not go well for the Cannons there either.
Yeah, that's my gut reaction to that is that it's kind of a shocking stat because Carolina is not really a team that I feel like scares me. Like obviously Blaze is
Yeah.
insane, but it's not the kind of team that I'm like, oh, like we always struggle against them. I know that, but when you think through the history of the league, I mean, Carolina, I get they weren't Carolina at the time, but they won the championship in 2021, and we weren't anywhere good until 2024.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm not surprised that the Cannons would have lost to the Chaos 21, 22, 23. And then, yeah, there's the 24 game that they won, but then they lost in the playoffs. And then,
Lost last year with the Ray Durth two-pointer.
oh, yeah. Yeah. So, huh.
Yeah. Um, but let's get into this a little bit more specifically. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say it's like that first game of the year, every team's kind of figuring things out. Carolina did have, they played last week, so that's obviously a chance to get live game speed, figure things out on offense, talk about what went well, what didn't go well. Um, but I mean, they were just running circles around Boston's defense. We saw the stat later. 12 of Carolina's 13 goals were unassisted. 13 obviously because Chris Islanian, former Cannon, had a two-pointer off a just awful turnover by Christian Fournier, just chucking the ball to no one in the middle of the field. Um, and then
Elementary stuff there.
yeah, and Colin
Don't
Kurtz was not
throw
in
the
the
ball
net.
to the middle of the field.
I know, and like you're a long pole, you went to Army, you're a professional athlete, you were strong enough to at least get the ball over the center line. I think he was trying to pass it to someone, but like double pressure, running out of bounds, just chuck it up the sideline. Yeah, so that's the reason for obviously that goal was unassisted, but why the goal total and the point total didn't match necessarily. Iker went off, Nick Turn went off again, just beating their man. I mean, there's that one clip late in the game where Iker gets a skip pass, and basically like three Cannons players kind of slide to him and kind of like jump up to try to block the shot. He just like face dodges and toe drags around all of them until he's just alone in front of the crease and shoots on Colin Kurst from basically just a step outside the crease. And that's just kind of emblematic of the game. I think I said this to you Saturday when we were waiting for the Philly game to start, that the Cannons have felt very reactive, that
Yeah.
they're seeing things happen around them and then they're trying to cover up those mistakes rather than, good teams being able to dictate the pace both on offense and on defense. And obviously we'll talk about the good version of that when we get to the Philly game. Um, but the defense just looked lost. Um, and Jeff Trainer was really quick to kind of come to the defense of Colin Kirst after it, saying like the defense just didn't do a good enough job, didn't give him the shots that he wanted. Um, because I mean, yeah, that the numbers aren't
I
good for Colin at only 7 saves, 35%, but I have to think most of those shots were just from right in front of right in front of the
Yeah,
crease.
I mean, if every goal but one was unassisted, yeah, one of those is the two bomb, but like generally it's because a guy is dodging, getting past his man, and then is right in front of the crease all alone. What do you expect Kirst to do there? Like he's not going to save all of those. That being said, 35% is atrocious. It was a bad night, and you would hope that your goalie is able to steal some of those for you, a la uh, Austin Cow on Ben Ramsey at the end of the third quarter. Um, so I don't think Kirst is not without blame, but the blame definitely doesn't start with him for Friday night.
No, not at all. Um, yeah, let's talk about the offensive side of the ball now. Where let's say the good thing first. So McAsee led the Cannons in scoring with 6 points. He had a two two-pointer, and 3 assists. So I think he is the player that we all thought and hoped he would be when the Cannons took him fourth overall last year. Jeff Trainer got a two. Love to see that. Um,
Governor.
yep, Mikey Weissar. It's pronounced Weissar according to Drew Carter said he just asked him. Um, got his first career goal on a great. I mean, yes, it was against Jackson Iker on defense, but you know, first
But
career goal.
he looked good
Yeah,
Friday night, not just like regardless of who was covering him when he scored the goal. Good things just seemed to happen when he touched the ball both nights this weekend. It was an encouraging debut for him.
yeah, yeah. I'm very excited to see him continue to play, because he just has the option. Like we said before he even started, like he's had to be the guy his whole time at Towson, and now he gets to fit into a role and create a lot more offense with a lot of talented people around him. Like you get to draw a slide and then pass the ball to Marcus Holman, like or Coulter Magazine, like that's going to set you up for a lot of assists.
When was the last time he drew a shorty?
Right.
Like high school,
Yeah. Yeah, freshman year of high school probably.
probably, yeah. But
Uh
yeah, the offense when they got it going, like it looked good, but it there still was it wasn't perfect though. There was a lot of unforced turnovers. Like I forget what the numbers were specifically on turnovers overall, but I know they showed it felt like the Cannons are turning the ball over a lot, and there was one point during the broadcast where they showed caused turnovers, and the Cannons had caused so many. There was double digits on the chaos, whereas Carolina had caused like 3 turnovers. And I looked at that and I how the hell is they've only caused 3 turnovers, and then you think back through it, and I mean the Fournier pass to the middle, Tucci multiple times throwing the ball over Holman's head, coming down like it just yeah it was just a lot of sloppy lacrosse, unfortunately on the offensive end.
yeah. Um and now I think it's time to get to the sloppiest lacrosse of all with 5 of those turnovers. Asher Nilting was not good against the Chaos.
Yeah.
He did finish with 2 assists, but yeah, 5 turnovers. He didn't even have any shots, which in and of itself is
That's
problematic.
shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are times like I'm just gonna have this burned into my brain, and I hope it's not, I hope he has a lot more good plays left this year to kind of get this out of my head. But I believe it was close to the end of the quarter, like 13, 17 seconds left to go, something like that. The Cannons call a timeout, drop a play. Uh, I think he got knocked down. Like they dropped a pass, I had to pick it up. It winds up in Asher's stick with about 3 seconds to go in the shot clock. and he's just standing there, like cradling, like looking to feed the middle. And there's like you drew up this play knowing it was a low time on the shot clock. Like, what do you like? And then it's just a violation, and he has to put the ball down. They go the other way. Like just no awareness and no like sense of urgency of like, we didn't have a lot of time when we started this. Like if the play went wrong and now I have the ball, even if you don't have time to take a peek at the clock, it's short time. Like you got to just go to the goal. And that's what we were saying all last year, that he didn't seem to want to, or didn't think he was able to go to the goal and get his shot. Like, yeah, he's matched up with Jared Newman all night. Jared Newman's a big guy too, but like Asher Nothing's in the league and he's a good player because I think I'll say pretty definitively he's the biggest attackman in the league, and he's got to use that to his advantage.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was it? Was it 2023 or 2024 that he had the first 2020 season in league history? Like, he's a guy that can get to the rack and score, and that just disappeared last year.
Yeah.
I know Asher was saying that when we talked to him a few weeks ago, whenever it was that, he was never fully healthy, so maybe that's part of it, but he told us he was feeling good going into this year, and granted, something could have happened between now and then, something at training camp, but I was expecting to see 2023, 2024 Asher out on the field Friday night, and it was 2025
Yeah.
Asher, which was disappointing and surprising.
Yeah, so just to go through this, so his rookie year, which he was, I think, coming out of the box some of the time, which is just nuts to even think about. 14 goals, 9 assists. 2023, 21 goals, 20 assists, the first ever 2020 season. 2024, 11 goals, 28 assists. And 2025, 10 goals, 6 assists. But I think it also took him within his first 3 games, he had like 1 or 2 goals, and that's not enough. Like if
Yeah.
he's looking to feed and teams know he's looking to feed, then that makes the defense so much easier. Like you don't even have to think about sliding to him.
Especially as an ex-attackman, because you don't even need to go behind cage to guard him. It's
Right.
literally you're playing 5-on-6 lacrosse at that point.
Yeah, and there were a lot of times. I think I noticed it more early on in the game. I think whether it was something in the huddle or whatever, like they seem to have gone away with it, gone away from it, where like they're just feeding like bad passes into the middle of the field, which is where like the whole defense is there waiting, and they get knocked down and they're going the other way. And I would imagine, I didn't see exactly where those turnovers happened, but I would imagine that was at least 1 or 2 of them, were those plays. I'm sure just a regular shot clock violation, like he picks the ball up in the end line with 2 seconds left and knocks it into a corner. But yeah,
Yeah, disappointing to say the least. Definitely not the the Asher that we like believe he is, and we have seen obviously, like you said, in 2023, 2024. But um, with him, and we'll get there, but with him not playing in the second game of the weekend, that was a surprise. But I'm really hoping that like whatever's going on with him, if it's not anything, like injury related, um, who knows, it could be a bunch of different things that are going on, but um hopefully that will sort of wake him up a little bit. Um, because he just was, I mean, last year we saw this a lot too, like the whole season. Teams just knew, like, okay, if we double team him, we're going to keep him away from the goal. And it's going to be just as simple as that. And that's what they did almost every single game to him. They did a little bit of that in this first game. I noticed, wasn't surprised at all. But they need to address that. And then he also was, I just felt like he didn't have the speed that I was expecting him to have. He seemed a little bit slower. Um, for whatever reason. I don't know what that reason is, but I just noticed that he did seem a little bit slower too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, with that, do you want to switch to game two against Philly, and then we'll go back and talk about the guard?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, let's
let's
do
just
that.
talk about Tooch real quick for a
Oh,
second
good point.
because I know I feel like I need to get something off my chest. So, um, I Tucci's our face-off guy. We love Tucci, but there's been frustrations with his performance, right, over the past couple seasons. When we had Coach on, honestly, I don't think I said this to you guys yet, but after he had talked about Tooch in that episode, I was like, I feel kind of like a little bad. Have I been like too hard on Tucci? So, with that said, I just want to highlight that he did go 68% um, in the first game, which was, I think, the highest that we've seen him go out of the last couple of seasons.
gotta be.
Um, and then, as far as something we are very used to seeing him do, which is have a lot of violations. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I didn't check it before we started recording, but I do know that he had a fraction of the amount of violations than last season because we are used to seeing him have a lot of violations every game. And
Yeah.
that was a lot different in the first game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he had many. Where Inacio had, it looks like four, because Ray Dirth also took four faceoffs for the Chaos. Um, I will say something else that reared its ugly head, though. He did have, I only see one penalty listed here. I swear he had a second.
Mm.
Um, and that type, like, I think there was a trip and a slash in there,
Yeah.
or a hold. Um, And that's the type like obviously he's winning the majority of the possessions now, or in this game at least. And that makes the penalties a little bit easier to handle. And obviously what he did in game two against Philly makes it easier to handle. But yeah, just I left this game feeling really frustrated because it felt like it was the exact same team that we saw last year that had so many issues. And just maybe concerned that, the team hadn't done enough to address them. Same face-off guy, same defensive lapses, Asher not being aggressive enough going to the goal. Um, but
But
let's
that
talk about the
being
good stuff.
said,
Yeah.
it was a completely different team that we saw on Saturday night. I mean, it was literally night
Electric.
and day. The
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the first game jitters getting it out there, and they're able to dissect what went wrong immediately. I think Brian Holman talked about that afterwards, that they're able to go right back to the hotel and talk about things and then just get right back to it. But the offense was clicking. They were firing on all cylinders. Cursed was seeing everything. I mean, 80%.
Dialed in.
Yeah.
That Kirsty eyes were on lock. I mean, they looked incredible. Um, Before we gas them up too much, I do just want to make one other question about, what changed from Friday night to Saturday night. You mentioned it, Casey, the lack of Asher Nolting playing was shocking. First off, and so the first off, the question is why is he sitting out? I think the heard on the broadcaster somewhere around that, oh, he was banged up from his matchup with Newman Friday night, and um maybe and maybe the reason that he didn't look great also is, like we said, maybe he isn't 100%, so he needed a night. Those are all legit. But we also talked to Brian Holman recently, and he talked about how he was slow to make changes last
Mhm.
year and wished that he had made some tougher decisions, either just made tougher decisions or made them sooner.
Mhm.
I'm inclined to believe that this was one of those decisions that Asher did not look right uh Friday night for whatever reason, whether he's hurt or whether he just has lost a step and isn't the not that he's old and past his prime, but that he's just not it peak peak Asher anymore. That it was he was more of a shooting star. But Brian saw that and said, we need to give the big boy a rest and we need to try something else out here because we can't start 0-2. And then Brian Kelly comes in and balls out.
Mhm.
Offense looked phenomenal. The ball was moving, and you know it's interesting too that just talking about how Asher, you know, the example of him just standing there holding the ball at halftime. I forget who the on-field reporter was last night. It wasn't Dana Boyle. It was someone new, but she was interviewing Matt Campbell as he's walking off, and he was mentioning that like they were just having a lot of fun. Everybody was touching the ball. It was constantly moving, and you could see that the passes, everything just was beautiful, crisp, fun lacrosse on Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was having more fun than Brian Kelly out there. I mean, I didn't see the clip. I haven't checked to see if the Sports Center account posted it, but you got to think that behind the back assist to Marcus Holman on the doorstep has
Oh,
got to be. Yeah. Um,
That
gorgeous.
was awesome.
And the credit to Marcus too, the fake to get the goalie moving like that the assist and the goal there were beautiful.
yeah, and I think I'd never even seen because he was moving to, I guess, to his right, to DeLuca's left, but then slowed down and shot it back to where, to where DeLuca was going away from. And
Right.
I believe DeLuca's a right. I've never seen a goalie like reach their free hand out to stop it like that.
Oh
Usually
yeah.
they're reaching the hand with the stick out, but like DeLuca was just he was beat so
Well, because
completely.
he immediately brought the stick all the way down to his
Yeah.
offhand low side and would just had it in his left hand. Like it, yeah, never seen that. He literally just flailing at it with his hand.
Yeah, and if you're, as a goalie in any sport but soccer, if you're just throwing your hand at it, that means you're probably not in good position to make the save. Um, I don't obviously not to take anything away. I did want to acknowledge the Water Dogs were down Dylan Hess and Matt Witcher at D mids. They got hurt last weekend and weren't able to go. So it was Nakai Montgomery and Tate Gallagher in. Um,
Yeah, when did Nakai Montgomery? I meant to. I was
Mhm.
gonna text you guys that last night, and he didn't play last year. They mentioned on the broadcast that he hasn't played since 2024. That made sense to me because when I saw Nakai Montgomery, I thought, huh, I haven't seen him in a while. What happened to him? When did he get to Philly? How that completely went over my head. I was floored to see him out there.
Yeah, I believe it was right before the first training camp. He and Miles Jones both signed with Philly. Um,
Okay.
yeah, he did not play week one. But then with the injuries to Witcher and Hess, he got dressed. And I know he wants to play O mid, and I could see that, or maybe just knowing that, I was kind of reading into some of his body language. I mean, he is very fast, very agile, but it really seemed like he was looking to push things and to try to get a score, a goal to like show that opportunity. Um, I don't know, I like him as a person. I'm certainly rooting for him. Outside of the fact that he plays for Philadelphia now. Um, but
And
he,
where was Miles Jones?
he was
Was
just
he
he's on the
coaching?
25 man, I believe, but just not on the active roster.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I was glad to see him get signed with someone, but that's a tough lineup to crack at the midfield position, especially.
Right.
Um, So yeah, that's not to again not to take away anything. I still think with how the Cannons were moving the ball, um, it's hard to imagine that Witcher and Hess would have like affected things too drastically. But still, they were maybe a little bit undermanned. Although on the other hand, they got Zach Currier back, who he really does do everything. Uh, Farrell had some violations for them, and Zach Currier won both of the faceoffs that he took, which is just like that's not fair. It's such a cheat code to have him. It's like whatever position you need, except for goalie, I guess. But honestly, if both goalies got hurt, he's probably the first guy you would put
He
in.
probably is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he probably would be serviceable.
Yeah. Um, we talked about Brian Kelly. Let's talk about some of the other, I mean, a lot of positives to talk about from this game, obviously, but let's start with Calder Maxey's got range. He starts the game off with another two-pointer, and then closes it off with a one. But I think that's he's leading the league in points now through 2 weeks because he had six against
Carolina.
Carolina, and then three against Philly. So that's nine, and then there are I think three or four guys with eight. I think Marcus Holman's one of them as well. So after 2 games, obviously putting up 19 is a real easy way to climb both the individual standings and then the team standings as well, because score differential being that first tiebreaker. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So we talked about, I mean, there weren't many people having more fun than Brian Kelly. I do think, Calder McAsee or certainly Calder McAsee, actually no, Ethan Ralsbaum was probably having the most fun. But uh
Yeah.
everywhere, yeah, we were sitting with them in the during this whole game, which definitely made the experience a lot more enjoyable. Because they're rooting on the team in such a personal way. Uh,
Mhm.
but I guess mentioning that Ethan Rawls scoring, Zach Tucci. I think anytime he's mentioned in this podcast or on Instagram, you have to think of that as the number two CCI with another 2 point goal, almost identical to the one he got last year as
Mhm.
well against New York. But he was wearing shoulder pads this time, so there was not a penalty after the play.
Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Matt Campbell had a two and a one. I also just want to shout this out. So a lot of the Cannons players were watching the guard charging game up until halftime, Matt
Mhm.
being one of them because his sister's on the charging. So Casey and I went over and we talked to him and some of the other players. And I was like, "Yeah, Matt, what gives being off the score sheet? You gonna score a two tonight?" And he's like, "Absolutely." Uh, and that was
And
his
he did.
first goal. Yeah, I know it's easy to say these things after the fact, but dear listener, I promise you it really happened. Um, and then when he came over to say hi to everyone after, he's like, "I told you I'd get one." Um, so we got between these first 2 games, Tucci, Campbell, McAsee with two, Trainer is the Boston two party is still I
Didn't
think alive
Marcus
and
have
well.
one also?
No, he had one that was I guess his toe was on the line. I really thought it
Oh,
was.
that's right. Yeah.
I think it was a two still, but
Yeah, and that might have, if that had counted as two, and if that Fournier turnover hadn't happened, that game would look a lot different. But alas.
Yeah.
Um,
how many more goals does Holman need now?
oh
Just after this first weekend.
yeah, that. Thank you for bringing that up because that's something I think Casey, you and I talked about tracking throughout this year. Is I'm pulling up the stats now. So Marcus Holman is second on the all-time goals list.
And
I
he's sixth, I think, or at least with past Casey Powell on the points list, right?
He's seventh. He's still six behind Casey Powell. Yeah, uh,
Okay.
but he has 361, so he needs uh and John Grant Jr. has 393, so he needs 32 more. That doesn't no, I that's not right. I don't think they updated for the second game because I believe he had 359 before the season started.
Okay.
So uh I believe he needs 28 more to tie and then 29 to break the record for all-time goals.
He's got two extra games this year.
Yep. Yeah, so he has 10 more to get,
but
plus hopefully a couple playoff games.
2.8 a game,
Yeah.
I think he
not
can do it.
out of the question.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, 517
It would be a
points
stellar
and
year if he did.
yeah, 517 points and 361 of them are goals. And let's see where he has. Oh, 20 of them are two pointers. So 341 basically. So 341 out of 517. It's like 60 to 70% of those points are goals. That's, obviously that's kind of all he's been doing his whole career is put the ball in the net. Um, that'd be interesting to see players who have like averaged a hat trick over the course of a season. Um, but he's certainly capable of it. So we will keep tracking that. I also did want to notice that he was walking kind of funny and he was out the last few minutes of the game against the Water Dogs. So it looks like some kind of lower body injury for him, whether it's, not even going to speculate on whatever it is. Um, so hopefully, I mean, the advantage of the earlier start is now they're off next week, so that is some extra rest for for him and for everyone. Trainer told us after the game he tweaked his hamstring, so we'll hope 2 weeks of rest will allow him to be back in the lineup. Um, but I think we talk a lot about the offense. Obviously, 19 goals nothing else comes to mind. This might be the
Oh,
most they've scored in a regular season game. Probably not going back to their MLL days, but I think since 2021. I don't think I can recall 19. Maybe I know they kicked the crap out of
I
New
mean,
York.
I can hardly recall a 20 for any team. So,
Yeah, because I know New York and Philly had that 2019 game last year, as in 22-19. The game did not happen in the year
right.
2019. And that was the most combined goals ever. So you got to figure. Oh, Maryland beat Carolina 20-6
Hmm.
last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
And that was also the second game of their homecoming.
Right. Yeah. And that was they played Saturday night and then Sunday afternoon. Like they had less than 24 hours
Way
and
less.
did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy parallel. Obviously the goal differential is the same, winning by 14, just kind of one fewer for each team this year. Um, but like think of what a huge boost this is for Boston. Also, especially because they did it to a division rival, where
Yeah.
Boston's goal differential is now plus 10 and Philly's is -9.
12.
It's no, they won. They won their first game. They beat Maryland 16-14.
Yeah. And we beat,
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's two.
You're right. So yeah.
Cannons beat them by 14. 14 minus 2 is 12.
Yes, you're totally right. I don't
2
know.
minus 14 is negative 12.
Yes. Not sure what was going on there. Yeah, -12.
Yeah.
So,
So going into last night's game, Philly was the top of the league, the only undefeated team. Cannons were bottom of the league, the only winless team. After the game, Cannons are now top of the league, and Philly is bottom of the league.
yeah,
And
How
you
quickly things can change.
indeed, especially in week two. So of course, I'm sure the
Hey, Terry.
standings, the standings are going to shake up a lot over the next, I guess, 3 months, basically. But Boston, like you remember that Maryland win by 14, it put them in such a good position for the rest of the year because their
Mhm.
goal
Yep.
differential was just always so good. Where I think they were also 4-6. But
Yeah, isn't that why Maryland edged out the Cannons at the end of the year? I think they both
Mhm.
finished 4-6.
yeah,
And
but
so they got the tiebreaker because of that insane goal differential.
yeah, yeah. So um, it helps Boston out a lot. Where obviously we want them to win more games than they lose, and if that happens, I don't think it would be possible for them to miss the playoffs. But this does. at the very least. It puts them in a really good position, and it puts Philly in a really tough position. Um, where like their offenses looked well, and actually I can't even say their offenses look good. They looked good against Maryland, um, but it did not look good tonight. And that's what I wanted to talk about next was specifically with the defense being a problem last year, just how well they played. Like looking at the offensive numbers for Philly and the list on the PLO website is way smaller. You had Jake Taylor, I think he got the first goal of the game um, to close out a 10-1 first half for Boston. And then you had Sowers with 2 assists, Connor Kelly with a 2-pointer, Kieran McCardle with one, Thomas McConvey with one. Uh, and I think that last one for McConvey came in the fourth quarter. Obviously, things were well out of hand, like pretty early on in this. Um, but I was really worried about Jack Kilty going in because Sowers, I think, had kind of diced him up previously last year. But man, did they? And maybe I do want didn't give them enough credit because Boston did beat Philly the second time last year. I think they let them get back into the game more. I remember they were up like 13-6 or 13-5 or something like that, and the final was closer. It was like 13-10, 13-11,
Yeah.
which is another thing that hurt Boston's goal differential. Um, but to lock out Sowers like that, I think they got lucky with some shots, or Boston got lucky at least some shots that hit the post. Um, but they like players just they weren't getting the same opportunities that Carolina got. No one was alone on the crease. Or if they were, it was like a very rare instance. I think that Taylor and McConvey were basically the only two times it happened. Um, and those two guys are really good finishers. So I just can't give enough props to them, and obviously all the credit in the world to Colin Kirst for locking in and um, definitely did not set the single game save or save percentage record because of that one goal game that Brett Dobson had. But feel pretty confident saying that's his career best.
It certainly I yeah, I mean, how many total saves was it? I think
16.
16. Yeah. It, yeah, and that 80% is just astronomical.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't believe like shut him out in the first quarter, and you're thinking, all right, like that's awesome. But there's still a
Yeah,
lot of
good
time, a lot
start. Right.
yeah, a lot of time to go in the game. Philly can dial in. They're dangerous. I mean, they didn't score in the first quarter last game either, and they still scored 16. Um, but then you were at 10-1 at halftime, and you're like, all right, this could get into some special territory if they can keep this up. And I think it's natural that it gets a little bit closer at the end in terms of, they didn't hold them to one goal in both halves, but
Hmm.
wow. Um, I'm just looking back at Collins' numbers from last year. I do want to give him some props. That game against the Archers, he was at 68% with 17 saves. But that Archers team last year was not good. Uh,
That was early in the year though. That was week 2, I think.
yeah, it was that game
That
where
was like
where Holman won on the crease dive. Yeah, at the end. Yeah, he's had some good games. It looks like up in the 60s, which I'll certainly take 60 plus percent every week, but I don't. He has not touched 70 yet. Yeah.
until last night.
hmm and he did even better than that. So yeah, just can't sing his praises enough. Matt DeLuca went 35%, so sorry about that, but oh well.
Yeah, and then they ended up throwing Sean
Sean Byrne.
in there at the end. That was kind of interesting to me because it felt like it was beyond the point of, all right, this guy is struggling. Let's make a goalie change. Like it was fourth quarter, like borderline garbage time. And it's just, all right, like let's put this guy in. Like, yeah, get the rookie some live game action, whatnot. But and Sean Byrne did well, like once he went in, but
Yeah,
If
three
like
scores
you're
against,
kind
three
of just
saves.
throwing him into the fire, like you're throwing him in there cold, Bill. Like if you're gonna make the change, you should have done it at halftime when you're down 10-1.
Yeah, I wonder. I did not get to the press conference room in time to ask Coach Tierney. You figure that it probably is just to help Matt DeLuca's like self-image. If you go in and give up like 20 plus as a starter all by yourself, like that,
I don't know if it
yeah. Um, would have been nice for them to have someone else to go to like Dylan Ward at halftime.
Yeah.
would have been nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's looked pretty good for California so far. I didn't notice this yesterday because we're had like that side view, but Philly's goalie tandem, DeLuca wears 1 and Byrne wears 99.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the right reaction to that. Uh, um, all
Talking
right.
about goalie tandems, do we want to move it on over to the guard?
Yes, we are, I think, long overdue for that. Um,
So, I mean, I was only able to watch the fourth quarter of that game, which we can get into because boy, what a quarter it was. But I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for all of us is probably just the excitement of the WLL regular season. It it happened, it's a real thing now, so that's just awesome. But definitely was surprising to see Dolce get the start over Rachel Hall. And then also, of course, Charlotte Norris scored the first goal.
yeah.
That like, but I don't know.
Makes sense.
You guys were there, so what do you guys have to say about the game overall?
Well, it started great. Boston was up, I believe it was 3-0 after the 3-1 after the first quarter, but they started up 3-0 and then New York got the next one. Um, honestly, like it kind of was similar to how the Cannons went last year, where and I saw some of the same things we saw in Champ Series for the Guard this year as well, where um like it just missed assignments. Like it seemed like New York, and I know the women's game, I think the rules and the strategy just leads you to taking more shots from in tight rather than, there's no 2-point line, so why would you shoot 15 yards away?
Mhm.
But it just seemed like that third quarter, New York scored 9 goals, and just like every one of them was someone like open on the crease, either someone who dodged from X and got free, or someone who was catching a pass like across crease. They just and it seemed like they had the ball in that end of the field the whole time. Boston couldn't do anything to stop it. Shea Dolce, who had started out on fire, just couldn't make a save, and you can't really fault her because the shots are all from right in and around the crease.
Well, I
Um,
also heard him talking on the broadcast that the with the setting sun that
yeah,
was lighting up the field, that it was directly in her eyesight in the third quarter.
yeah, I will credit that too. We were standing behind that end of the field, and I had to be tilting my head down so that the brim of my hat
Mm.
would block the sun. Like it was a really tough view.
Mm.
So that definitely could have been a factor. And I guess with where that stadium's built, that kind of had to be the orientation of it. But I just like the stadium's so recent. Like in the 21st century, why are we still building stadiums where the setting sun is going to be in a goalie's eyes? Like,
Great question.
yeah, you build it where you need to build it. And I know soccer too, like there's going to be people on either side, like facing whatever direction, who need to look up and get a header and whatnot. But primarily it's like you want the goalie to be able to see the ball and stop the ball. Um, and if they can't, eh, like, yeah,
Soccer ball is easier to see than a lacrosse ball, though.
it is. It's a lot bigger. It's going a lot slower, but it also is going up a lot higher. Um,
True.
and there's no perfect way to do it, right? Like unless you're completely inside, but then I mean you got roof
Western
lights and
lights.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Like a local field, even a high school, like I understand, but a professional stadium, like why are we putting it there where a goalie is gonna have such a like an immutable obstacle? Because it really, with it getting closer to summer now, the sun was not behind the stands, and like the goal wasn't free until most of the way through the game. Um, so yeah, that definitely did not help. Boston did turn it around on a unfortunately like a pretty scary play. Jack, I don't know if they showed a replay on TV at
I
all.
no, I was watching by the time that happened. What Shea Baker you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching. I was home by that point.
Yeah, so I guess can you like did they show a replay? Because that was on the far end of the field from where we were
Yeah,
standing. So
yeah. So it was just I forget who the charging player was, but she was just going in to shoot, and Baker was sliding to cover her coming down, and uh she probably the charging player was probably trying to get it off before the slide got to her, and it just went straight into Shea Baker's temple, and she just crumpled. And I
yeah,
mean, you saw Dolce sprinted to her immediately. I saw multiple guard players immediately motioning to the sideline, waving uh, for medical personnel, whatever. And they initially didn't show us the replay. They just went to break because it's such a scary moment. You have no idea what's going on with her, and then
Mhm.
they come back from commercial break, and Shea Baker is walking off on her own power, laughing about it. And so then Jay Alter on the broadcast was like, "All right, like now that we know she's okay, like we can show you what happened." And yeah, they showed it slow mo of her just coming in and the ball just boom, like
Mm.
I know most of you are listening to this on audio, but like right here above her ear, basically just lacrosse ball straight to the dome.
yeah, that's terrifying. It was Lauren Gilbert. I looked up,
Thank you.
and I did see Gilbert and Baker hugging on the sideline. So that is good to know. Like obviously it was not malicious at all. Uh,
No,
Right.
yeah,
but yeah,
um,
I mean Gilbert definitely had to be feeling horrible about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you remember the first year of the PLL? There's kind of a freak collision where Glazner ran into Jackson Place in a playoff game, and it like I don't know, like whiplashed Jack Place, and like it basically ended his career.
Wasn't that was the championship game, wasn't it? The with the hospital pass?
No, I think
I think it's
it
a
was
different game.
it
There was a
uh
championship game early on where there was a hospital pass. Oh, that was um
Ben Randall.
maybe, or I
Yeah,
was going to say who's the Archers defender? Graham Hossick.
yeah,
I think he did that.
yeah. That
It,
was him on Randall. No, this is the very first year. I think it was a semifinal. Um, yeah, Glazner was just running up the field. Place was running back, and they collided. I don't even know what happened, but it like stopped him. Um, just knocked him out somehow. But anyway, my point is to say like even the guy doing the hit like that, when even if there is intent, but especially like obviously there's no intent. Like it's really it shakes you.
Mhm.
But the I didn't see if Baker was back on the field, but it did give Boston a 5 minute non-releasable power play with I think about 7 minutes left in the game. Uh,
Something like that.
and Boston was down, I want to say by seven at that point. I think it was 15 to 8 or 15 to 7.
Yeah.
Um, and they cut into it. They got it to 15 to 12. Unfortunately, in there at some point, Boston also took a penalty, so there was a minute of that where it was even strength, and that's just killer. To take a penalty in that situation, and they're in a position essentially where they have to score in every possession,
Mhm.
and just lets New York kill the clock so much more easily, or potentially even get a goal of their own, because it's even strength.
which they ended up adding a couple at the end there.
Yeah, they got some empty netters basically, which
Yeah, because Dolce was out there doubling.
yeah, which you do wonder a little bit about with goal differential being such a factor. And obviously you're trying to get the ball back so you can score your own goal. But they came with 109 and the second one came with 31 seconds left to go. So how much good are you really going to do there? It's in only a 4 game season, like to have your goal differential go from -3 to -5 is it could be tough. Obviously, we hope that doesn't play a factor. Uh,
Yeah. Well, but that could be one of the learnings of this first season of the WLL
yeah,
too.
for sure. Um, and I will say there are definitely some positives. Rachel Clark looks unbelievable. Kenzie Kent looks really good. Shea Dolce does look really good. I think if the defense can get together and like communicate well in front of her, um, I feel good about that. I am still a little worried they only have 3 players listed at defense right now. I am wondering if Lori DeLuca is going to make a change about that. To add someone, particularly if Shea Baker is not available for their next game. Um, Yeah, Lori said post game and going back to Kenzie that she thought Kenzie should have been more selfish, that she looked to pass a lot when she should have been trying to shoot, or she should trust herself to take a shot more, which I totally agree with. She's yeah, she and Rachel Clark and Charlotte North are an unbelievable trio at attack that absolutely can go toe to toe with anyone, honestly, probably men or women.
Yeah.
Uh, but Jack, I don't know if you felt this because it felt like it should have been like that. The fourth quarter down by enough goals was like peak time for it. But we saw this in Champ Series where it felt like either from the team or from Charlotte herself, like the plan was just give it to Charlotte and let her cook or let her make magic happen. And like when that works, it's awesome, but that's not really a plan. Like, and if defenses know that like she's looking for her shot and she just wants to get to the goal, like it that becomes a lot easier to defend than a really like well-tuned offense where just everyone has a role and is unselfish and moving the ball. And not that I'm calling Charlotte selfish like per se, but it feels like so much of what Boston was trying to do was just give it to her and she'll figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, Aldave had some nice goals there in the fourth quarter when they're on
Yeah.
that run. So I don't know, maybe it was from the bit that I saw, like I honestly didn't see much of Charlotte, so I didn't get that impression from the game. Like the one time that I did see Charlotte with the ball, she did kind of run around with it a little bit, whereas the rest of the time the ball stayed pretty hot. And so I guess, from that perspective, it does seem like if it goes to Charlotte, it's let her cook. Whereas if anyone else has it, it's keep it hot and find the open woman.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it maybe the peak of this was that third quarter run where New York had 9 goals. Um, because it feels like, especially because they had the ball so much in that quarter, that it's like anytime you get the ball, it's like, all right, we have to make this count. And you're just like, all right, give it to Charlotte. Charlotte can help us. Charlotte can save us. Um, and that, yeah, we saw a lot of that in Champ Series. It wasn't as bad in this game, but I did see it at a few points, and it was just something that brought me back to that, and not in a good way, especially with no 2-pointer line in the women's game. It feels like they're gonna do that eventually. At least I hope they do. And when that happens, then Charlotte definitely becomes a bigger weapon if you can get space for it. Because obviously we don't want people getting hit in the head. Um, yeah. But that is like her distance shooting has got to be like her best weapon that I hope the league can figure out a way to implement that safely and let her show that ability off because it really is. unlike anything else that anyone else can do, or anyone else in the WLL can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something that we saw, and you guys may or may not agree, but something I noticed in Champ Series with this team, which there are some new faces, but there are also a lot of the same players. Um, it was like the first half of every game they played, they would be strong, and then they come back after halftime, and it's almost like during that halftime period they lose a little bit of the wind in their sails, and then fourth quarter comes and it's like almost the end of the game and now they're picking it back up again. um and that's just like a little too late typically. And I feel like we saw the same thing in this game this weekend, which definitely made me like eat my words from our last podcast episode. I was so confident. And But we did the same kind of thing again. And so hopefully we can figure that out, because I mean, we have a great team and there are so many like great strong players. I just feel like there's no reason that we should be coming in after halftime and not being a little bit rested, and not, I don't want to say handing over goals, but we're definitely like we've lost some of our steam
Yeah.
in every third quarter.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I believe their next game is June 6th, which is a lot of time to sit with this loss, like in
Hmm.
contrast to how the Cannons, their first loss, they have to wait so long to try to avenge this, as it were. Um,
Hmm.
and also like I think, yeah, so California plays the 29th and then Boston plays them June 6th. So they will have a game to look and see what California does there, because like we said last week, it's like really hard to know what to expect from any team at this point. Um, but hopefully Boston feels like they have some film, and then they'll have a lot more opportunities to make adjustments than California will. Not that, what, 2 weeks for them isn't enough time. No, 1 week. 1 week isn't enough time to make adjustments, and California can maybe come back a little bit more reviewed and refreshed. But like Boston, I think can plan for California more than California will be able to plan for Boston. So that's definitely a positive. And if we need to make some roster changes or whatnot. Um, Also, because we haven't mentioned it, I saw Cassidy Weeks was put on the pup list like the day before the game, so something must have happened to her in practice. Um, we'll knock on wood that whatever it was, it's a more short term thing, and especially
Hmm.
with 3 or 4 weeks to rest up, she'll be good, because I think she definitely would have made a difference out there. Um, we were talking to some people at the stadium, like she's such a workhorse, such an animal. On both ends of the field. Like I feel like similar to Zach Courier, she's probably like the closest equivalent of that. Like you can put her in any position, and she's going to outwork and out muscle like pretty much everyone. So the sooner she can come back, the better for Boston for sure. All right, that was a lot of thoughts about a lot of games. I guess we can briefly mention the other two results of the weekend, where New York Atlas, the boy charging as
Where were they?
yeah. Um
That
they
was
they certainly were not
surprising.
Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Yeah. They put up only 6 goals, and they got shut out in the second quarter, only one in the third. Like they were basically non-existent. It was 10-2 at one point. And they did make it a little bit more respectable in the end. Uh yeah, I genuinely I don't know what happened. Like I believe Levi Anderson got hurt at some point during the game,
Mm.
because he was obviously so incredible week one, and he did not have any points. I think he only had like one or two shots. And I think I saw Bowering down playing attack in the latter part of the game. yeah, there was nothing went right for them. Actually, one thing went right. I think they did win the faceoff battle as far as percentage, but Petey LaSala had 3 goals for the Whips, so
Yeah.
hard to say you won the battle in that sense.
And
Um,
one of them was an awesome goal.
yeah, that was
I think it
definitely
was
the
the
fourth
third
center.
one. Yeah.
Uh,
Behind the back.
yeah,
That was
runs into a
nice.
double team, drops the ball, picks it back up, and just chucks it over his shoulder. Um, and
Yeah.
and then the second day, Denver gets into the win column, beats California 10-9. California's up 6-3 at the end of the first quarter, and they got shut out in the second, 1 goal in the third, 2 goals in the fourth. Denver actually does the score in the fourth quarter, but they're still able to hold on. Um, yeah, kind of an odd one. I think they did. Denver obviously made some adjustments. Like just stopped. I think Coach Sudan said post game, like they stopped making mistakes. I know Logan McNaney said he came too far out in a ground ball, and that let California just kind of score in that unsettled situation. Um, I did want to, wanted to touch on Brennan O'Neill clearly is not healthy, is not right. He had
Mm.
no goals in this game. I think he had assists. Let me see. Yes, 2 assists for Brennan O'Neill, but 8 shots, no goals. And I think they don't have shot on goal percentage in this stat sheet here, but like maximum 1 or 2 of those was on cage. He, yeah, he did not look good at all. Um, Credit to Chris Fake, who I think was on him for most of the game, but yeah, he's not healthy. I think he was on the pup list until right before week 1, and he certainly is still unable to perform to the standard that we've expected from him. Um, Yeah, Evan Plunkett made his debut today, or not today, Saturday for the Outlaws. 1 assist, no goals. So trading up to get him fourth overall. Not looking good so far, but he can still have a very productive season ahead of him. It's tough to get kind of thrown in. He did have a lot of Army guys in the sideline rooting him on. They were shirtless for most of the game and jacked. So props to them. Uh,
Goodrich had a lot of Bryant guys rooting him on too.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
he did.
did. That's got to be such an interesting experience, especially like if for the guys coaching high school, it's like they feel like older than you, like they're adults, whatever. But to be coaching college kids who are, closer in age, I think Goodrich is like 29 or 30. Um,
I mean, so they're borderline the same age as some of his teammates.
right.
Yep.
And then just to have your players come cheer you on as a player is a really interesting experience. And I know like Entenmann or McNaney, like the goalies that are coaches, like they'll take shots from their kids before or after practice, probably during some practices, which is really interesting too. Um, and then sometimes you get the situation where a coach becomes a player's teammate. Like I believe JT Giles Harris is a coach at Jacksonville, so Jack Taylor, whenever he gets in the lineup for the Outlaws, or Ryder Garnsey,
Guaranteed.
yeah, all the Notre Dame guys who have become Redwoods players. Obviously, Chris Kavanaugh is like first and foremost. Um, so that's a fun thing, and it's going to go away. I hope it does go away within the next couple of years, the PLL, because guys are all getting paid full time and they can't be Division 1 college coach. But it's cool for as long as that does happen for those relationships to kind of exist on those different levels.
Yeah.
Um, one la no, actually, I don't want to end on a sad note, so I will. Well, all right. Well, now I said it. Attendance this weekend was not good.
No,
It was,
that was a huge letdown.
yeah, it was really
I'll
bad.
say it.
I think the best attended game was definitely the WLL, but even
Mhm.
then,
Good.
like I'd say it was max like 30% full. And they weren't selling the second deck, which I get. Obviously, if there'd been the demand for it, they would have, I assume. But like the lower sections, there were a handful, like a couple smaller sections that were completely full. Like the ones behind the benches, like you had all the family and friends there. Like that's where all the Army guys were sitting. I think that's where the Bryant guys were. Um, but it was yeah, it was tough. Where maybe it's the time of year, because it's still the school year, both for colleges and for like younger kids, like if especially on that Friday night, like maybe you're not getting off work and like rushing to get to this stadium, um, which also doesn't have a lot of parking options available. So it's kind of tough to get there, or tough to find a parking spot. And
Well, also, I mean, like we've got the homecoming in Boston, obviously, and they already have a Fairfield, which is always a great weekend. So Rhode Island does feel like a random location to have. Like the Boston and Fairfield are close enough. Like you don't really need another one in between those two.
yeah, that is
Fairfield
true.
is already the central location between Boston and New York.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. You're right. But I think I really did expect a bigger crowd, unfortunately, particularly for the women's game, which again, it was the biggest crowd, but not,
There were a lot of kids.
yeah. And
A
I will
lot.
say, all right, we'll end on a positive note that post game, like there's always like an autograph area. Like players will just walk up to the edge of the stands and sign for a lot longer than pretty much anyone else you see in other sports. Um, but for the WLL game, they had like an autograph 10 lined up where like people would get in line. Some WLL players from both teams would be sitting there and signing everything. And the line for that was crazy and started well before the game ended because people
Mhm.
just wanted to be in that line. Um, and it was still going like definitely into the Cannons game starting. So that's at least like 30, 40 minutes of people standing in line to get it from. I assume Charlotte was one of those people. But didn't go to see exactly, but I assume it's like the best couple from each game, and I'm sure on top of that, WL players were doing just what the PLL pros do. But it was yeah, that was really cool to see. So we can end on that positive note that the love is there. I think maybe just the fans. It is the small state for a reason, it's not a lot of people there. But we know Harvard's going to turn out, and Fairfield was
Mhm.
always full. So we can definitely look forward to seeing that, especially because I believe that is Cannons and Atlas again, and it is also a rematch of the Guard versus the Charging. I'm just going to confirm that now.
no, I don't think the guard and the charging play again.
Well, if that's true, that is a travesty.
I
They,
thought they played one more time, but maybe not.
Oh no,
no,
Boston plays the
they,
Charm.
they play California twice, I think.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
Boston
it
plays the
was Charm
Charm
to
in
see them.
Fairfield, and then they play the Palms in. Yeah, they're right. They do play the Palms twice. Well, that's disappointing. Um, but all right. So I guess we won't have the double Boston New York rivalry, but we will have we're gonna have a good attendance for that game for sure. I think
Mhm.
regardless. Connecticut does always turn out. It is a little bit of a smaller stadium than Central Bank, but I think that does work to the advantage where they really pack people in. Um, it's a great environment, and obviously Harvard, they got 26 years of history now, of people cheering on the Cannons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So the league is off next weekend for the Final Four. Obviously, we want all the attention to be on the college championships there, down in Charlottesville. Um, I have not watched the final quarterfinal yet between uh, Duke and Georgetown. Or yeah, Duke and Georgetown. So I don't want to
No
give
spoiler.
yeah, I don't want to give a prediction because I don't know who's in that matchup yet. But if I mute my computer, Jack and Casey, if you would like to give any predictions for who you think will be or I guess if you think it's going to be one of the other teams, if it's Q's or Princeton or Notre Dame. If you think one of them's going to win it, then fire away. Or if you don't
I,
want to give any predictions at all.
well,
I mean,
I
I
know who I want to see.
I know who you want to see, and that's definitely who I don't want to see. Um,
Yes.
especially Casey, shame on you. Uh, Will Donovan is still in there. You have to root for our Cannons guy.
Okay.
I hope he has a bunch of caused turnovers against Joey Spallina.
I that is exactly I want to see him strip him and just make him cry.
I will say Jimmy McCool, the Syracuse goalie, is from West Roxbury and played for the youth team that I'm now coaching. So I'm definitely rooting for him to do well. Um, but
So we can have a real defensive battle.
yeah, let's
Syracuse,
go.
Syracuse goalie great. Will Donovan balls out and Joey Spallina doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I I saw like a
I
rebroadcast and
can't wait for this kid to start playing in the league
yeah. Oh wait, when did
just to see how it's going to play out. And so we can talk about it just a
Well,
little bit, Jack.
I mean, there's a chance. I mean, I don't know if he's playing Final Four weekend. I don't know if he's going to be playing the next weekend in Baltimore, but
oh yeah, Cannons whips that weekend.
Canes are playing the Whips that Friday night, so it might be a quick turnaround for Joey. But if he plays so terribly on Saturday, he would have, he's not going to be playing on Memorial Day, so he would have enough time
Yeah.
to get there.
Well, if even if that doesn't happen, Jack, you will get to boo him when the Cannons and Whipsnakes play in Harvard Stadium.
True. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So you just count down the days until August 7th when you get um to enjoy that. And certainly we'll all be booing him that day.
Yes.
All right. We'll be back with something. Obviously at the latest it would be a preview of Cannons and Whips, hopefully with someone from the Snake Pit there, as they get ready for their homecoming in Loyola, I believe. It's a new venue for the league this year. But until then, go Cannons, go Guard.
Go Cannons, go Guard.
Go Cannons, go guard.
Boo!
Boom!
Boom.